Good morning, USA, and welcome to another episode of the Bernie or Bust Show. We're going to start where we left off yesterday with the AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, I think. It wasn't Ayanna Pressley yet, of the squad. And I predicted yesterday that by the end of the week we'll have all four of them. I'm hopeful. And so what I wanted to stress is what we talked about yesterday a little bit. We have this article from Newsweek or USA Today where Omar cited Sanders' leadership of a working class movement to defeat Donald Trump. About 70% of Democrats want to defeat Donald Trump more than they want any of their pet issues to be dealt with. So if you want to defeat Donald Trump, in a nutshell, this is the problem. Many Republicans, Greens, Libertarians, and Independents will vote for Bernie if he is the nominee, although they will not necessarily change to Democrat to vote in the primary if that is required in their state. So a lot of the untapped voters will remain untapped if Bernie isn't nominated. And so in a rigged system, this is a picture of the time that Bernie got on the debates 2 days ago. We've got Warren with almost 23 minutes of time from CNN. Biden, more than half of that. So that's clear. Who do they favor now? Whom do they favor? The Clinton, MSNBC, CNN, cabal, Hollywood, the whole Clinton machine. They've swung clearly behind Warren and not Biden. And then these never have beens, Klobuchar and O'Rourke, get more time or slightly more time than Bernie Sanders. So we have a rigged system. We have people thinking, here's another point. Currently, polling primarily includes only Democrats. Only 29% of voters currently identify as Democrats. And some of those are the Dem Enter people that are going to exit again if Bernie isn't nominated. So not even 25% probably of voters are vote blue Democrats. Political elites are acting as though half of the country are Democrats in order to sway people, to keep them misinformed, to keep them in the dark. The Democrats who vote traditionally are going to work hand in glove with the establishment to keep Bernie out unless there's some kind of a pressure applied. We can't expect all of the people who would vote for Bernie in the general election to overcome these blue dog Democrats and get Bernie the nomination. So we need to apply pressure. That's where Bernie or bust comes in. This is why Bernie is the person to get behind now and not later. So the message needs to go out to the poor and the poorly educated voters who have been ravaged by the last 70 years of neoliberalism. We need this message to get to them, but we also needed to get to the vote blue no matter who Democrats who still don't seem to understand the math. They don't have enough voters, with or without Bernie or bust, if you take into consideration these poor and poorly educated voters. There just isn't enough support for a sock puppet, for a corporate sock puppet, stealthy or otherwise, candidate to get the nomination. So we need this word to get out.
I am so proud to endorse Senator Bernie Sanders for president. Senator Bernie Sanders is the only candidate that has built a movement and continues to build a movement that transcends gender, ethnicity, religion, and we know that in order to take on Trump, we're going to need a unifier, someone who understands what the fight looks like, and someone who is ready to defeat him. I'm one of the people that was inspired by the movement that the senator has built. There was an America that I dreamed about. There's an America that most people believe in. It is an ideal. It's not reality yet. And he started the work of organizing for that America. And that has inspired me to get involved and run myself to help others also organize for that America. One of the amazing things I think about the senator is that he understands we have to find solutions to our greatest problems.
We need to augment what she's saying there to organize to solve the problem. What she's alluding to and not coming right out and saying is that we need labor, we need unions, we need real unions, not the company unions that we have now. We need real unions that will put force behind Bernie and Elon, hopefully, and get this to happen. So we see a lack of leverage because Bernie's the only one. We're going to talk about this in a minute with David Dole. Bernie is the only one who has the fortitude. And I want you to see more of this clip. This is so beautiful. You can see Bernie's character. But then we're going to talk about not just leveraging vote blue Democrats, but leveraging the corporate structure, the oligarchy that's in place using labor, using the labor movement. That's what she means when she says organizing. And these thousands, I've been at Bernie rallies, and when you see the people outside in a park or inside in a gym and you see them waiting for Bernie to come on stage in that moment when he addresses them, you can see the love in his heart, and you can see it in this video.
Wait for what the poll numbers are on proposing a particular solution. The senator is the only candidate that is proposing a complete cancellation of student debt. The senator is the only candidate that is proposing to provide universal school meals. The senator is the only candidate that wants to make sure that we end our endless wars and will fight for human rights and hold everyone accountable regardless of whether they are an ally or a foe. The senator is someone who understands that our movement isn't just for few, it's for everyone. The senator is the only candidate that isn't about leaning a particular way, but being true to yourself and fighting for what you believe regardless of what the obstacles are.
Did you see that? That was a dig at Elizabeth Warren. I've got tears in my eyes, sorry. It isn't about leaning a particular way. What Elizabeth Warren does, what Hillary did, what everyone else is doing, I won't pick on the squad, but it was looking to me as though they might have been doing this same thing. Which way is the wind blowing? Is the wind blowing this way? Then I'll go this way. And Bernie Sanders, he makes his own weather. He doesn't care which way the wind is blowing. He hasn't ever cared about that.
And fighting for what you believe regardless of what the obstacles are. This is not just the fight for our lives. This is the fight for our democracy. This is the fight for a better future, one that we can all be proud of.
This is what Bernie is willing to do on his own, but if he had labor, if he had the working class behind him demanding what he's talking about here, then you can get shivers thinking about how powerfully the country can change, because Bernie isn't talking about what we can do under the circumstances. Stupid incrementalism that we've had under both Democrats and Republicans for decades. He's saying this is what I believe can happen if we run over the people in the way who say we can only have a certain amount of the austerity people who believe that we can't have everything that our wealthy country, our vastly wealthy country, could actually afford if it gave a shit about the working class.
And he talks about, do Democrats have the guts to take on the healthcare industry?
And a little bit tired, I must say, of people defending a system which is dysfunctional, which is cruel. 87 million uninsured, 30,000 people dying.
Watch Elizabeth carefully when he's speaking. Joe, you can predict how his body language would work. But Elizabeth has a daughter in the health industry, and Elizabeth has no intention of dismantling the health industry, the insurance part. She'll wave her finger, but she's never going to try to take them down. And so watch her body language as Bernie's talking here.
Every single year, 500,000 people going bankrupt. For what reason? They came down with cancer. I will tell you what the issue is here. The issue is whether the Democratic Party has the guts to stand up to the healthcare industry.
That's where she looked down. She was agreeing, but when he said have the guts, she knows she doesn't have the guts to stand up to the healthcare industry.
Which made $100 billion in profit, whether we have the guts to stand up to the corrupt, price-fixing pharmaceutical industry, which is charging us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. And if we don't have the guts to do that, if all we can do is take their money, we should be ashamed of ourselves.
Bernie has the guts to take on health insurance. He also has the guts to take on the prison, military, industrial complexes, and every other oligarchical faction. He's ready to take on Monsanto. He's ready to take on every power. And the only way he can do that is organize, the way Elon was saying. We got to organize the labor force to do that. But it's rigged, as we saw. And we have to have, I believe, this is what I've been harping on from the beginning. A lot of Bernie canvassers, organizers say, we just have to get out the vote from people who don't typically vote. Young people don't typically vote. Poor people and poorly educated people don't typically vote. So we just need to get enough of them and we'll overcome the voting class. We'll overcome the elitist, comfortable, suburban, white people who support Elizabeth Warren. They need to understand that if they nominate Elizabeth Warren, the way CNN and MSNBC and Hollywood talent agencies and thought leaders want us to nominate Elizabeth Warren, if we do that, she's going to lose because she doesn't have the populist vote. She doesn't have the working class vote. She doesn't have the grubby voters that won't vote. They won't even come out to vote unless someone like Bernie Sanders is in the election, in the general election. And make no mistake, there's nobody like Bernie Sanders. We've waited a lifetime. He's been there all along, but we haven't awakened and seen him. And now he's there. We need him. We need his coattails. We need his organizing ability. We need his inspirational leadership to get the rest of us off the dime. The rest of us need to wake up and like Elon is, and pile in behind him. This article is the case then that we need to make to the blue dog Democrats. Salient points that all Democrats must face between now and February, not between now and November, next November, between now and February 2020. The Bernie or Bust movement acknowledges the pain and misery that neoliberalism has caused to working class people. The Bernie or Bust movement isn't coming from privilege. It's just the opposite. Vote blue no matter who is coming from privilege. They're prioritizing defeating Donald Trump instead of defeating the whole machine that Donald Trump is a symptom of. He's just a more fascistic version of the same neoliberalism of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and both Bushes and Bill Clinton and even Jimmy Carter. You can even make that case. As much as I like Jimmy Carter, he has been also a neoliberal president. And so this is, the privilege is to say that we don't need to get rid of this neoliberal oligarchical system. Getting rid of Donald Trump will not even put a dent on neoliberalism's fender. We're talking polling here. Cameron Easley is a pollster. He said his organization's data does not show a lot of natural crossover between Warren and Sanders supporters. So what we need is Warren supporters to stop being elitist snobs and what a meritocracy driven. We need them to come around and say, if we really want to defeat Trump, they're holding our feet to the fire, these Bernie or Busters, but it isn't just us. And we need to tell them, these white, well-educated liberals and neoliberals, we need to tell them that they have to come around now and not later. Bernie or busters, Bernie or Trump swing voters, many of the poor and the poorly educated citizens will not vote for Warren, Biden, or any other Democrat. And those are the ones that we have to get, not the vote blue no matter who people. We have to get these other voters, and the only way we can get them is if we get Bernie the nomination. Compare Trump's atrocities with those of Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and even Jimmy Carter. Go clear back to the Nixon presidency and trace any substantive differences in the way working class people have been treated by both parties over the years. We need a revolution against the neoliberal order. We need an end to mass incarceration. We need a better public education system and the removal of money from politics. We need to unite behind someone who will do more than pay lip service through feeble and bad faith attempts to work within the system. We need the Democratic Party to morph into something besides controlled opposition. We need to dismantle the power structure by removing the inordinate wealth from the few who have been calling the shots over the years, regardless of which political parties have been in place. We need to weaponize the labor force through a democratic process that puts U.S. workers in charge of their own destiny. Only one candidate actually intends to do this. Do the math. If you understand the research by Thomas Piketty, who talks about poor and poorly educated voters, you will understand that you can't just hope that the various components of the Bernie coalition, who will never vote for a corporate candidate, can come to their senses in time. No time is long enough for that. Both parties have thrown working class people under the bus for at least 70 years. The day of reckoning is at hand. Either you unite behind Bernie or you will get Trump. That is the reality. You can't refute these points simply by wishing them away. So we need to get this article in front of their faces and this video, all the videos that I feature, all the articles that I feature on the Bernie or Bust show. We have to get this word in front of the people's faces who typically vote, the Democrats who typically vote. We need them to wake up so that we can get Bernie into the general election and then defeat Donald Trump. It's time to put up or shut up. If you really want to defeat Donald Trump, you have to have Bernie in the primaries. You have to vote for him now, not later. Keep on burning. See you tomorrow, I hope.